Many species are the victims of illegal pet trade and of the trade in exotic parts and skins. The increasing availability of guns and poisons is responsible for the extermination of other species. The Endangered Species Act has been effective for preserving some species. For instance, the American alligator had been reduced to a relatively small number by the early 1960s due to illegal hunting for hides and meat. After 20 years of protection, the species recovered to such a large extent in many parts of its range that it led to relaxation of the laws, which initially provided for the total ban. Worldwide, the International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources keeps track of species threatened with extinction. Endangered species include many of the world's great cats, whales, certain species of the rhinoceros, and many other mammals, birds, and reptiles. Housing and other facilities needed by an expanding human population are encroaching on their habitats. It can be inferred from the passage that blank. Keeping a commitment or a promise is a major deposit. Breaking one is a major withdrawal. In fact, there is probably not a more massive withdrawal than to make a promise that's important to someone and then not to come through. The next time a promise is made, they won't believe it. People tend to build their hopes around promises, particularly promises about their basic livelihood. I've tried to adopt a philosophy is apparently never to make promises I don't keep. I therefore try to make them very carefully, very sparingly, and to be aware of as many variables and contingencies as possible so that something doesn't suddenly come up to keep me from fulfilling it. Occasionally, despite all my effort, the unexpected does come up, creating a situation where it would be unwise or impossible to keep on promise I've made. But I value that promise. I either keep it away anyway or explain the situation thoroughly to the person involved and ask to be released from the promise. I believe that if you cultivate the habit of always keeping the promises you make, you build bridges of trust that span the gaps of understanding between you and your child. Then, when your child wants to do something you don't want him to do, and out of your maturity you can see consequences that the child cannot see. You can say, son, if you do this, I promise you that this will be the result. If the child has cultivated trust in your word, in your promises, he will act on your counsel. Which of the following states the author's main idea? Keeping promises enables you to build bridges of trust. Children are as negatively affected by broken promises as adults are. Keeping promises to one's children is particularly important for parents. The worst thing a person can do is break a promise because the other person will not trust you the next time. Which of the following does not relate to keeping commitments in your everyday life? Number A. Keeping promises should be part of your philosophy. Number B. You should teach your children never to make promises until they are mature enough to understand the results. Number C. You should think or pursue unexpected variables which might prevent you from keeping promises. Most of the intelligent animals have prehensile, grasping organs for exploring their environment. Hence, in man and his anthropoid relatives, the sensitive, inquiring trunk in the elephant, one of the surprising things about the purpose is that his superior brain is unaccompanied by any type of manipulative organ. He has, however, a remarkable range-finding ability involving some sort of echo sounding. Perhaps this acute sense, far more accurate than any man has been able to devise artificially, brings him greater knowledge of his watery surroundings than might at first seem possible. Human beings think of intelligence as geared to things. The hand and the tool are to us unconscious symbols of our intellectual attainment. It is difficult for us to visualize another kind of learning, almost disembodied intelligence floating in the roaring green fairy road of the sea, an intelligence possibly near or comparable to our own, but without hands to build or to transmit knowledge by writing. Yet at the same time, there are indications that this is a warm, friendly, and eager intelligence quite capable of coming to the assistance of injured companions and striving to rescue them from drowning. Porpoises left the land when mammalian brains were still small and primitive. Without the stimulus provided by agile exploring fingers, these great sea mammals have yet taken a divergent road toward intelligence of a high order. Hidden in their sleek bodies is an impressively elaborated instrument, the reason for whose appearance is a complete enigma. According to the author, in which way are porpoises better equipped than man? Number A. They can rescue people in the water. Number B. They can transmit knowledge. Number 3. They have a range-finding ability. Number 4. They swim well. Question 5. The author suggests that man's failure to understand the intelligence of porpoise is due to number A. A lack of knowledge about the sea. Number B. A lack of equipment. Number C. Man's inclination to judge other life by his own. Number D. Man's inferiority. Question number 6. The passage is mainly about blank. Number A. The intelligence of porpoises. Number B. The range-finding ability of porpoises. Number C. The grasping organs of various animals. Number D. The companionship of porpoises. Question number 7. According to the passage, which of the following is true? Number A. The porpoise has a superior type of manipulative organ. Number B. The porpoise is a kind of a fish. Number C. The porpoise is an unfriendly animal. Number D. We don't know why the elaborated instrument of the porpoise appeared. Question 8. Okay. Not all Chinese thought of a Han period concerned itself with abstract big ideas. The Chinese then, as ever, were a fiercely practical people. They were producing still as early as the 2nd century by mixing together iron with different carbon content. This was already a thriving international trade in Chinese technological inventions, particularly in luxury items such as silk, lacquer, and bronze mirrors. The Han Chinese practiced the wholly original policy of ostentatious generosity with their neighbors, which surprises us by its extremely high cost and systematic character. Probably no other country in the world had even ever made such an effort to supply its neighbors with presents, thus elevating the gift into a political tool. According to official records, in 1 before Christ, the Han gave away some 3 million rolls of silk, and by AD 91, the value of silk gifts had reached 1,090,000,000 pieces of currency. Jacques Jarret, the great French Orientalist, calculated that the annual revenue of the empire at that time was of the order of 10 billion coins, and that 3 or 4 billion were taken up with gifts. A substantial levy on the country's wealth, which at the same time stimulated production and weakened the economy. But these gifts were part of a conscious, long-term policy by Han Chinese to reduce their barbarian neighbors and to curb them by accustoming them to luxury. It seemed to have worked, insofar as it helped the Han achieve political stability on the borders of the empire for several centuries. Which of the following is not true of the Han Chinese people? Number A. They were luxurious. Number B. They were very practical. Number C. They were politically inventive. Number D. They were charitable. Question number 9. What is the consequence of the underlined phenomena? Phenomena is, according to official records, in before Christ 1, the Han gave away some 3 million rolls of silk, and by AD 91, the value of silk gifts had reached 1,019,000,000 pieces of currency. Okay. Number A, the decrease of the silk production. Number B, the weakening of the Han Chinese economy. Number C, the luxurious lifestyle of the Han Chinese. Number D, the long tension on the borders of Han Chinese. Question number 10. Sleep is a recurring state of inactivity. Decrease of consciousness and decrease in responsiveness to events in the environment. The ease with which sleep can be terminated differentiates it from coma, general anesthesia, drug-induced stupor, and the seasonal hibernation of certain animals. On the other hand, there are conditions of semi-wakefulness, post-epileptic automatism, hypnotic trance, fog, etc., that are intermediate in character, possessing some features of both sleep and wakefulness. Moreover, in the routine of living, there are regular diurnal gradations in the depths of slumber and the degree of alertness, which alternate with one another like the crest and drop of a new 24-hour wave. A conspicuous characteristic of sleep is the horizontal posture of repose, which permits a relaxation of the body musculature when an individual is awake. Muscular contractions not only produce overt movement but also maintain a state of partial contraction, which produce resistance to a passive or externally imposed movement. This is noticeably absent during sleep. However, muscular relaxation and immobility are not absolute. Unless artificially restrained, a sleeper from time to time moves one part of the body or another. Unless artificially restrained, a sleeper from time to time moves one part of the body or another. As a rule, the longer the duration of sleep, the more it entails the rest, a semi-awakening and partial awareness of environmental details. Most sleepers do not recall this multiple moving interruptions of sleep. Hence, there is the expression sleeping like a rock. In any case, the total amount of time taken up by this mobility is small, amounting to 30 seconds per hour, or about 4 minutes is an average night. This periodic change in the position of the body is probably brought on by and relieves the pressure on the skin in contact with the sleeping surface. In any case, the total amount of time taken up by this mobility is small, amounting to 30 seconds per hour or about 4 minutes in an average night. This periodic change in the position of the body is probably brought on by and relieves the pressure on the skin in contact with the sleeping surface. Question number 10. What is the main idea of the passage? Number A. Advances in controlling sleep disorders. The role of observational data in sleep search. Number C. A description of the state of sleep. The monitoring of periodic sleep movements. It can be inferred from the passage that drug induced stupors. Number A. Lead to long periods of sleep. Number B. Are not unlike long-term sleep. Number C. Are difficult to awaken from. Number D. Include elements of wakefulness. Question number 12. The author implies that the artificial restraint of sleepers will blank. Number A. Affect their level of movement. Number B. Decrease the depth of their sleep. Number C. Result in periods of wakefulness. Number D. Cause them to move up more often. Number 13. Which statements would the author be least likely to agree with? Number A. Sleep remains a largely mysterious bodily state. Number B. Some conditions border on both sleep and wakefulness. Number C. Lack of movement is a typical characteristic of sleep. Number D. Normal sleep movement is not a serious problem. Question number 14. It can be inferred that the most people use the phrase sleeping like a rock to indicate that blank. Number A. They moved less than 20 times that night. Number B. They can't recall any of their dreams. Number C. They did not stir at all while sleeping. Number D. They remember their trouble falling asleep. Question number 15. Veteran rocker Pat Townshend blames his hearing loss on a lifetime spent using headphones. And experts say today's iPod generation is storing up trouble for the future by listening to music at high volumes. Or those years of turning the volume up to 11 are coming home to roost for the rock idols of yesteryear. As lead guitarist with The Who, Pete Townshend often seemed dedicated to the art of over-likeness, smashing his guitars to smithereens while reveling in the ear-splitting strength of feedback. The Who also hit the record books in the 1976 as the loudest pop group ever. After a concert which tipped the monitoring equipment at 120 decibels, the equivalent of a pneumatic drill, 50 meters away from the sound system. Today, Townshend is struggling with irreparable hearing loss. The guitarist says he fears for the iPod generation. His intuition tells him there is terrible trouble ahead. Others in the rock music world have also witnessed premature hearing problems in the classical world. A solo orchestra musicians suffer hearing loss, but a far broader concern is not for the hearing of dependent musicians, but as Townshend himself suggests, the legions of earphone wearing. Number 2. Converse to the music on the move. This passage tells you clearly that Patty Townshend is blank. Number A. Sorry that he smashed his guitars. Number B. Anxious that many people will suffering hearing loss like him. Number C. Bitter that experts cannot help him now. Number D. Famous for having deliberately damaged his hearing. Number 16. The passage suggests that may rock musicians blank. Number A. Used pneumatic drills in their concerts. Number B. Encouraged the use of iPods. Number C. Habitually performed music that was dangerously loud. Number D. Dislike discussing the problem of volume control in rock concerts. Number 17. The underlying phrase "are coming home to roost" could best be replaced without change of meaning by blank. Number A. Are finding their final resting place. Number B. Are halfway to being forgotten. Number C. Are not producing the expected results. Number D. Are coming back later to cause trouble. Number 18. The underlying phrase "converse to music on the move" refers to blank. Number A. People who habitually use iPod everywhere they go. Number B. Performance of religious rock music. Number C. Fans who follow rock groups from concert to concert. Number D. Young enthusiasts who keep admiring different groups. Number 19. The passage clearly implies that blank. It is a good idea never to listen to rock music. Classical musicians mostly use hearing aids. Number C. Sensible people avoid listening to music that is too loud. Number D. People who use iPods will soon or be deaf. Observation. Number 22. 전문학이죠. Observation, in fact, depends on interest and knowledge. If three friends travel abroad, one an architect, another botanist, and the third a stockbroker, then the architect is likely to notice the style of houses and other buildings more than his friends do, because he is especially interested in them. The botanist will observe especially the flowers and trees of the century more than his friends, and she or he will actually see more details because she or he knows what to look for. Observation is guided by blank and informed by blank. You have, however, no reason to suppose that the botanist trained in such observation or the architect keenly observant of the buildings will be more observant than the stockbroker of the faces of the foreign people they meet, or the dress of the woman. Indeed, they are more likely to have their attention diverted by the objects of their special interest. So training in the careful observation of the varied endings of Latin words, or of the changes in chemical substance in experiments, will blank the observation of pictures or the movements of stars. Which one is true according to the passage? The ability to observe things is naturally given. Number B. Mental abilities are key elements for professionals to develop their observational skills. Number C. It is the result of training which makes a difference in one's ability of observation. Number D. Observation is more required for those who are in the field of science. Question number 23. To a philosopher, wisdom is not the same as knowledge. Facts may be known in prodigious numbers without those loving wisdom. Indeed, the person who possesses encyclopedic information may actually have a genuine contempt for those who love and seek wisdom. The philosopher is not content with a mere knowledge of facts. He desires to integrate and evaluate facts, and to prove beneath the obvious to the deeper orderliness behind the immediately given facts, insight into the hidden depths of reality, perspective on human life and nature in their entirety, In the words of Plato, to be a spectator or time and existence. These are the philosopher's objectives: to create an interest in the minutiae of science. May and often does obscure these basic objectives. Philosophers assume that the love of the wisdom is natural in the ment of the human being. Potentially, every man is a philosopher because in the depths of his being there is an intense longing to fathom the mysteries of existence. This inner yearning expresses itself in various ways prior to any actual study of philosophy as technical branch of human culture. Consequently, every human being, in so far as he has ever been or is lover of the wisdom, has, to that extent, a philosophy of life. Question 23. The title below that best expressions the ideas of his passage is number A. The potential philosopher. The B. The philosophy of Plato. The C. The philosopher versus the scientist. D. The philosopher defined. Number E. The natural endowments of mankind. According to the author, which statement concerning philosophers is most accurate? They are impractical or not. Number B. They are too radical. Number C. They are a doubtful group. Number D. They have contempt for humanity. Number E. They turn away from the findings of science. Question 25. The author indicates that the philosopher is a person who blank. Number A. Disregards facts. Number B. Loves wisdom. Number C. Desires technical knowledge. Number D. Collects all types of data. Number E. Resents all the lies. 26. A philosopher wishes to blank. Number A. Systematize facts. Number B. Work by himself. Number C. Show his contempt for knowledge. Number C. Have an encyclopedic mind. Number E. Endow human beings with supernatural powers. Question 27. The passage suggests that the philosopher would probably be most opposed to blank. Number A. Quiz shows on television. Number B. College courses in philosophy. Number C. Courses in natural science. Number D. Religious training. Question number 1. When it comes to three-dimensional 3D television, I don't see it, literally. The technically that is supposed to convince me that the 3D image exists doesn't work for me. The writer of the above passage cannot produce stereoscopic imagery. When the writer of the passage saw Avatar, the theater for his was not crowded at all. Although flat viewers will feel uncomfortable if they watch the 3D version of the movie. Those who are not able to process stereoscopic imagery can actually be cruel. But I don't mean to complain, it is not the end of the world. 들어갈래. The man in the street speaks vaguely of the olden times, for he has but one epithet to apply to all the ages which lie between the dawn of history and the invention of the locomotive. If he thinks of them at all, Julius Caesar and Queen Elizabeth are to him essentially contemporaries, and from his point of view he is quite justified in thinking of them as such, since to one who judges the value of life by the comforts amidst which it is passed, it is hardly worthwhile to make any distinction except between a way of life which comes up to the 19th century standard and one which does not. All ages except the present were alike in being compared to it wrong without the things of which he is most proud, and what he calls progress did not begin until a very short time ago. The man in the street speaks vaguely of the old man 했죠. The title below that best expresses the ideas of this passage is blank. Evaluating one's contemporaries. B. The comforts of the past. C. History's short-term view. The 19th century. 4. The average man's knowledge of history is blank. Limited, theoretical, profound, scholarly, unused in the passage. The word F that most nearly means blank. Question, reason, characteristic, expression. The author implies that the average man blank considers progress an outdated notion, often thinks of past ages, has a narrow set of values, has a historical perspective. Question number 7. A very large number of people cease when quite too young to add anything to a limited stock of judgments. After a certain age, say 25, they consider that their education is finished. It is perhaps natural that having passed through that painful and boring process, called expressly education, they would suppose it over. A very large number of people cease when quite young to add anything to a limited stock of judgments. After a certain age, say 25, they consider that their education is finished. It is perhaps natural that having passed through that painful and boring process called expressly education, they should suppose it over, and that they are equipped for life to label every event as it occurs and drop it into its given pigeonhole. But one who has a label ready for everything does not bother to observe anymore. Even such ordinary happenings as he had observed for himself with attention before he went to school. He merely acts and reacts. For people who have stopped noticing, the only possible new or renewed experience, and therefore new knowledge, is from a work of art, because that is the only kind of experience which they are prepared to receive on its own terms. They will come out from their shells and expose themselves to music, to a play, to a book, because it is the accepted method of enjoying such things. True, even to plays and books they may bring artistic prejudices which prevent them from seeing that play or comprehending that book. Their artistic sensibilities may be as crossed blank as their minds, but it is part of an artist's job to break crust, or let us say rather than artists who work for the public and not merely for themselves are interested in breaking crusts because they want to communicate their intuitions. Question number 7.